Well, it's getting very quiet, so we must be close to starting, I guess. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to formally begin the 2012 TransLink Annual General Meeting. I'm Bob Padden. I'm the Executive Vice President of Strategic Planning and Public Affairs. I'll serve as your MC for this morning. I want to thank you for being here today, in particular to our stakeholders and partners, and most importantly to our customers. We find at the AGM it's a great opportunity to hear about the experiences you're having on the system, issues you may have, and some insights that you can share with us and how we can do better. So it's always a pleasure to have you here. I'm going to introduce some people, and I want to get through these introductions, and then we'll move fairly quickly into the actual meeting. First off, I want to introduce our board members who are all here today, and when I call their name, I just want to ask them to stand. Robin Chakrabarty, Robin? Rick Christiantz, Lorraine Cunningham, John Dawson, Barry Forbes, Howard Nepton, Don Rose, and Marcella Zell. I also want to introduce our chair of our board, Nancy Ohlweiler. I'm also going to just call on some of the executive that we have here, so we'll have time after the meeting for any one-on-one questions you may have. So we have Ian Jarvis, our Chief Executive Officer, Kathy McClay, our Chief Financial Officer and Executive Vice President of Finance and Corporate Services. So they'll be speaking. But in addition to that, we also have Doug Kelsey, our Chief Operating Officer. We also have Sandra Henson, who is our Executive Vice President of Human Resources. I would like to introduce Fred Cummings, who is the President, General Manager of BC Rapid Transit. Hayden Atchison, who is President and General Manager of Coast Mountain Bus Company. Where's Neil DeBoard is here. Neil is here. He's Chief of our Transit Police. And a couple of other people I would also like to mention. The Commissioner for Regional Transportation, Bob Irwin, is in attendance today. Hi, Bob. And I understand Mayor Wayne Baldwin from White Rock has joined us. So, anyway, great. Thanks for everybody being here. So what we're here to do today, we want to talk about 2012. And over the next hour, you're going to hear from Nancy, who's taken a few minutes to talk to you about our Board of Directors and its perspective on the last year. Kathy is going to speak to our financial performance. Ian will talk about our role in the region and what's ahead. And then finally, we do want to hear from you, and we'll be taking questions here in the room. Now, one of the things that we're doing today, we are webcasting this. So we will ask, we've got two people, Mark and Shirley, will have microphones later on in the question period. If you have a question, just raise your hand. When it's your turn to speak, they'll come over and let you speak into the microphone. And that just enables people who are listening in online to be able to hear the whole dialogue. So that's going to be the format for this morning. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Nancy so we can get started.
Thank you very much, Bob, and welcome everybody. On behalf of the board, I want to thank everybody for coming. And as Bob said, this means our stakeholders and our partners, but more importantly, our customers and those members of the public who we serve at TransLink. The very nature of TransLink mandate and work puts us constantly in the public eye. All of you use our services in one way or another. Whether you ride our system, the buses, the trains, use our handy dart services, our C-buses, whether you drive over our bridges or use part of the major road network, ride your bike along any of the bike paths, the Central Valley Greenway, Canada Line, Bike Bridge, all of those things. And even if you don't do any of those, you consume goods and services that are delivered by the trucks that drive on our roads. So TransLink is really involved in your lives in a very fundamental way. But it's not the only reason that you're here to listen to us today. You also help pay for us. TransLink is funded by those who use our transportation infrastructure. If you're a transit user, it's your fares that cover part of the cost. There's no transit system that we're aware of anywhere in the world where the fares cover the total cost of delivering the service. So that cost of the services has to be made up for in other ways. What it is in terms of taxes that you will pay, your property taxes, the fuel taxes, and so on, are the ways that we're able to fund the transportation infrastructure, the transportation system. Therefore, you, the public, the folks who use our roads and get around using our transit system, you expect to have your dollars used wisely, and that's what we're here to do. We must be accountable to you, the taxpayers and the users of our system, to be assured that the way we operate and the way we manage our business is as efficient and effective as it possibly can be. And the job of the Board of the Directors is to ensure that happens. We take our job very seriously to ensure that we have those services delivered to you as effectively and efficiently as we can, operating within the mandate we've been given by you, the public. So we're here today to reflect on 2012. 2012, we opened up the organization a lot to look at the way we operate, to ensure that we're using your tax dollars wisely. We've had not one, but two in-depth reviews of our operations and our finances. In April, the Regional Transportation Commissioner, our independent regulator, completed an efficiency review of TransLink. In October, the province completed an audit of our operations. What these reviews had in common was they recognized that TransLink is well managed and fiscally responsible. Each of these reviews had recommendations for how TransLink could provide even better value to the taxpayers and our customers of Metro Vancouver. And in 2012, we demonstrated that it's working toward being a more streamlined, efficient, and effective organization. TransLink had already been working on a number of the recommendations when these reviews occurred, looking at existing services by optimizing them, by putting our services where most people use them most of the time, and boosting the productivity, therefore. But there's always room for improvement, and the Commissioner and the audit teams recognized that we were well on the way to making those kind of improvements. Early this year, the Commissioner issued a progress report on his efficiency. That was the old Commissioner. The new one hasn't told us we're doing a good job yet, so you can talk to him later. But the Commissioner, Martin Crilly, who retired in April, said that we were well on our way to achieving many of the targets, the objectives set out in that's a board member, so he should know better.
Nice ringtone, though.
Yeah, it is. It's good in the morning, jazzes everything up. Anyhow, we're on the path, and the board is here to ensure that the organization stays on the path. But this means some tough decisions. 2012, we made a number of tough decisions. It's very challenging, as I'm sure when you think about dealing with your own situation of trying to balance the needs of getting the services that you want to consume, you want to have, along with the budget. So what we're trying to do is make that sort of balance, to balance the financial risks we face with meeting the demand for the transportation services the community needs and wants. And there's no question that there are services out there that we would like to provide even more of. So it's a testament to the organization's leadership and people who work across the whole enterprise that TransLink delivered outstanding service to a record number of people. This is what TransLink brings to the metropolitan area. An integrated transportation. I was just in Toronto yesterday. Well, Toronto. Let's not talk about Toronto, but they don't even. Let's talk about Toronto. We have an integrated transportation system. You can get everywhere. You're not changing modes. I mean, you may be changing modes, but they're all delivered by TransLink. It gives people the options of getting to where they need to go. We move millions of people a year, and we support the sustainability and economic viability of the region. But while we're looking back today, we're also going forward. And we're going to have a conversation about what this region is going to look like in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. What kinds of investments can we make? What kinds of investments does the region mean? But being accountable to you, the people, and ensuring that TransLink is fiscally responsible is paramount to the Board of Directors. The cost savings and efficiencies that we are finding, that we're employing right now, are not going to be enough to keep up with demand in the region. We may be wise stewards of the public funds, but we also have to recognize that these funds are scarce, and there are many competing interests, be they health, education, and so on. This is a conversation that we'll be having in the coming year, and we would love to have you folks involved in that conversation. What do we want the region to look like in 30 years? How do we measure success? What kind of transportation system will keep the city vibrant, get you to where you want to go, give you transportation options? And then, alas, we have to think about how we're going to pay for it. We at the Board of Directors are committed to working with the province, the mayors of the region, and you, the people of Metro Vancouver, to support the discussions that will move us forward to solutions. We also need to allow Ian and Kathy to continue to build a transportation agency that delivers on this shared vision and goals of our region. So thank you for being here, but before I pass it over to Kathy, I'd like to show you a short video, and this is just one of the many stories from people who use our system every day. I think it speaks to the value of the transportation system and the kind of city that we all want to live in. Thank you.
I used to drive to the airport, and it would be an hour and a half in the morning, in the afternoon sometimes up to 2 hours in traffic. So in the morning I drive to the parking lot behind the rec center that's just right across the street from the train station. From Poco Station, I then take the West Coast Express all the way to Waterfront for about a 30-minute ride. And from Waterfront, I connect onto the Canada line for the 26-minute ride all the way to YVR Station. And I get off literally steps away from my desk. Well, I started doing this commute when they introduced the Canada line because it made it so convenient, so much easier. It's quite seamless, and it made no sense to continue driving. It's a quiet commute, the scenery is beautiful on a nice sunny day. I just get to relax, and I get to work, and I get home in a much more relaxed state. I wouldn't have been able to do that long term. Driving, and I'm great to be able to do it with the West Coast Express and Canada Line because working for the Airport Authority is really quite enjoyable.
Good morning, and thank you, Nancy. 2012 was a challenging year for TransLink, but we met the challenge, and our financial and performance results bear it out. Over the last year, we heard a lot about efficiency. It's certainly always on the front of my mind as the Chief Financial Officer for TransLink. As Nancy noted, we're stewards of public dollars. So, from that perspective, it's important that our enterprise makes every dollar count. But like all businesses, no matter where the dollars come from, we always must make the best of it. TransLink is committed to efficiencies. That's why we started several years ago, to focus on how to reduce costs, increase revenue, and maximize our resources. The efficiency review and the provincial audit highlighted this last year. Being more efficient is something that we do every day, and we've been doing that for the last 5 years. Let me walk you through some of the things we've accomplished. Since 2008, we've reduced management and professional fees, reduced overtime and labor costs, decreased fuel by using more fuel-efficient vehicles, made our fuel costs more predictable by locking in fuel contracts up to 1 year in advance.
Jason, to the front counter.
Reduced the cost of buying goods and services, optimized our bus service, and we've increased our ridership revenue. In 2012, we had a 3.5% growth in transit revenue. Going forward, you can expect even more from us. In scheduling efficiencies, workflow adjustments, and recovery time improvements. TransLink has a solid track record as a stable, financially responsible organization. This was validated yet again in 2012 when TransLink took advantage of the historic low interest rates and completed a 40-year bond issue and brought in $100 million. What this means is we were able to lock in 40-year money at these historic low rates. Investor demand was so high that we reopened those bonds for another $150 million. This money will go to projects such as our contributions for the Evergreen Line and several of the station upgrades. Locking in 40-year money is very rare, yet alone at these very competitive rates. It'd be like going to your banker today and asking him to lock in your mortgage for 40 years. We've been told time and time again by investors that TransLink is considered a stable and solid investment because we're well managed, have diverse and consistent revenue streams, and are a stable and fiscally sound organization. This was reconfirmed by our credit rating agencies in 2012. Both Moody's and DBRS have rated us as AA stable. This is considered to be a very strong credit rating. Investors, they can choose to invest anywhere they want, but they choose TransLink. It speaks volumes each time we go to the market and investors respond in such strong demand. TransLink also takes risks wisely, and this was highlighted in 2012. Last year, while TransLink was challenged to demonstrate that we managed resources wisely, we also faced significant financial challenges and revenue risks. We saw early in the year that our revenue that we received from fuel taxes was declining significantly. These were the same revenues that we were counting on to run our 2012 operating budget. As an organization, we had to manage these challenges in a prudent and fiscal way. Therefore, TransLink had to make some very tough choices. We scaled down the expansion for the year. We deferred or canceled many of our capital projects and challenged the organization to do better and look for incremental efficiencies. Yes, TransLink faced a number of challenges last year, but we managed through them in an effective way while continuing to still deliver with a focus what matters most to us, our customer. And this was confirmed with our customer satisfaction rating being at an all-time high, 7.7. This is even higher than it was during the Olympic period. Now that I've set the context, let me walk you through our report card. Operating revenues were $1.42 billion. Operating expenses were $1.43 billion. Yes, there was a deficit in 2012, but we planned for it. As a result of our efforts to reduce costs, improve efficiency, TransLink beat the budget by $45 million. We did this by improving bus operations, adjusting scheduling, and reduced recovery times. But as I mentioned earlier, we did put a hold on some expansion that was originally planned for. This accounted for approximately $6 million of that $45 million positive variance. It also means that we dipped into our reserve fund to cover the shortfall. TransLink's 2012 results also show the impact of the work that had been going on over the last 5 years, work that has both improved efficiencies and made our system better and more reliable for the people who depend on it each and every day. Up until the Olympics, our focus was on implementing significant expansion to ready us to welcome the world. Since then, there's been a shift to making the most of the service and the infrastructure that has been implemented. Some might call it sweating the assets. Looking at our results over the past 5 years, we truly have some impressive figures. In 2012, TransLink provided more rides to customers for less money. Operating costs per revenue passenger are lower today than 5 years ago. Operating costs per passenger kilometer are also down to an all-time low. Thanks to investments in our bus fleet and our trains, and to changes in our maintenance practices, our vehicles now travel further with less major breakdowns. In rail, we've achieved a 128% improvement. And in bus operations, 78% improvement. This has allowed us to save money. How? We've reduced the number of spare buses and require fewer operators to be on standby. Looking ahead, we'll continue to manage our resources and to ensure that TransLink delivers the most effective service possible within the financial resources. We'll continue to look for ways to maximize our revenue and explore new revenue generation opportunities within our current structure and framework. We'll continue to ensure our business is as efficient as it can be, and we'll continue to be accountable and transparent to the people of this region. This is the commitment that TransLink makes to our investors, our customers, and to Metro Vancouver public. When the region is ready to embark on a transportation strategy for the next 30 years, when the funding discussion is resolved so that the region can move forward with its long-term vision, when the tough decisions on infrastructure have to be made, TransLink will be ready. Before passing it over to Ian, I'd like to show you another short video clip. These are the customer stories that really resonate within our organization, and it highlights the importance of the work that we do. It's managing and helping people who live in our region to get to where they need to go. Thank you.
I live in East Vancouver and work at the Township of Langley. And most days of the week I'm in a carpool, which is great. It takes about half an hour each way to get to and from work. But several days a month I've started riding my bike in. So it's a combination of biking, taking SkyTrain, a rapid transit bus, and then biking again on the other end. On the bus it's so easy. You throw your bike on the rack. And the 555 is a pretty luxury vehicle. It's not like a regular bus. It's more a Greyhound type bus, so that's pretty comfy. I can sit on the bus and, like I said, I knit or I read or I organize events in another part of my life, so I can, be on my phone organizing stuff. The biking sections of the commute are probably my favorite. And I just recently, with this commute, discovered the Central Valley Greenway, so I really like that part of the commute. For the train to connect with this rapid transit bus and allow me still some cycling time on either end of my trip, it really makes me feel better at the end of the day. It just adds to the enjoyment of my day and me still getting stuff done.
Hi, good morning, everybody, and thanks for coming to our annual general meeting this morning. That call to the office, it was a bit of a flashback to me back to grade 5. Would Ian Jarvis please come to the office? Forgot my lunch. TransLink manages a transportation system that the people and businesses of Metro Vancouver rely on each and every day. And so just by way of example, a couple of recent investments that TransLink has made and the impact they've had on individuals. The first one is the Golden Ears Bridge. An individual come to our board meeting a couple of years ago, actually came to provide a comment on the toll rates. But through that story, he indicated the impact that investment has had on his life. He lives in Langley. His daughter lives in Pitt Meadow. She's quite active in sports and soccer. That investment enabled him to go watch her practices and games midweek and take advantage of watching her games on the weekends as well. So not only provided a connection to another part of the region, but also provided a connection to his daughter. a better connection to his daughter. The second is the Canada line and the network changes that were made along with that investment. I have a good friend who travels a lot on business. He no longer considers taking his car to YVR. He simply gets on an express bus in the neighborhood that we live in, and I live out in South Surrey. Express bus takes him right into Bridgeport Station, onto the airport. He no longer has to worry about parking and the cost of that. He has a reliable and convenient and cost-effective option that works for him. So looking forward over the next 30, 40 years, we need lots more investments like the Golden Ears Bridge, the 555 service, and the Canada line if we're going to be successful, continue to be successful as a region. Metro Vancouver is a vital economic hub, and we need someone that has an understanding of the challenges on the transportation today, and importantly, the transportation challenges in the future. And that's why TransLink exists. It's our job, and I think our track record shows that we're doing a good job. What we've been able to accomplish in Metro Vancouver is unique. We've doubled our transit ridership in the last 10 years. We've invested over $600 million in the major road network that's made that network of roads more reliable for people that need to use it and drive on that system. And by being strategic as a region, we've attracted over $3 billion of senior government funding that's enabled us to make these investments and achieve those transportation outcomes. We continue to have delegations that come to visit us at TransLink to study what we're doing and determine how they can apply what we're doing here in this region to the cities and regions that they serve. So what we've done is unique and successful on many measures. In 2012, we were challenged as an organization to demonstrate our effectiveness and efficiency. Both Nancy and Kathy spoke of this in their presentations. And as Nancy indicated, the conclusion of each of those reviews is that we're a well-managed organization. Also that we are a fiscally responsible organization. We care about the pennies and nickels and dimes, but we can only care about the pennies a little bit longer. You going to miss those, Kathy? Yeah. In 2012, having reflected on that, what it demonstrates is we can't save our way to growth. Our existing funding is maximized, the three main sources being our fares, gas tax, and property tax. Each of those are at their maximum, and one of our key revenue sources, fuel tax, is currently being challenged. And looking forward, we have 1 million more people coming to this region, 500,000 more jobs. That's going to have a significant impact on the demands of the transportation system. And as a region, we need to be ready for that growth. We know that transportation underpins our quality of life. A strong economy, clean and safe communities, yet it's not the only priorities that are competing for scarce dollars at this time. We are in a new reality. The cost of living in Metro Vancouver is rising. Affordability is a key concern. And these are tough economic times. World markets have changed forever. And businesses are making different choices with their money, and TransLink needs to make different choices as well if we're going to continue to be successful. And I would say that investing in the transportation system at the pace that we succeeded on the first 10 years, the first decade, I'm not certain if that's going to be the reality. And we need to be mindful of that and put forward plans that are fiscally responsible. And we need to look to find new solutions to move people and goods through this region that we serve. One thing that we're certain about is that we can't afford to let the transportation network stagnate. How we shape the growth of this region will have a lasting impact on the quality of life, the economy, the environment, the communities, and the people and customers that we serve. And we need to plan for the most effective and efficient way to protect the quality of life we have here in Metro Vancouver. And TransLink is leading a new conversation. As the Regional Transportation Authority, we're uniquely positioned to both think and act regionally. We play a role in the region's economic and social strength by guiding affordable, efficient, and long-term policy and investment. And we started a dialogue on the region's 30-year transportation vision and a plan to get there. The vision is and will continue to be based on the ideals set by the region that we serve. The important thing is that we continue to work together to make this region the best. Metro Vancouver is known as one of the best places in the world to live. I know this better than anybody. I was born and raised here, lucky enough to spend my entire career here. I've seen the impact that transportation investment has had on the Lower Mainland, whether it's the original Highway 1 project in the mid-60s, the Alex Fraser Bridge that connects out to the community I live in, actually probably one of the key reasons I moved out there, made it a viable option to travel to my workplace. And of course the Canada Line and others. So again, we need to recognize this asset that we have and build on it. Build on it to make certain that we are able to respond to that growth that is coming. And while this conversation takes place, we'll continue to deliver the service our customers depend on. The people that work at TransLink are passionate. They're committed to this region and they care about the customer that we serve each and every day. And we're going to continue to take care of our assets. And we're implementing the Compass Card and Fairgate project. That's coming soon. That will make a different, improved transit experience for our customers, making it more efficient and a more secure environment that they travel in. And we're looking at options for the Patella Bridge. That's a 75-year-old bridge. It needs to be replaced. We need to make certain that that link continues to exist in that part of our road network. It's a vital link. And we're upgrading SkyTrains. Over 25 years old now. We're needing to make upgrades to stations and the rail bed. You'll see that happening at Main Street Station at present. And we're continuing to shift our transportation transit resources to services and times where they are needed the most. Most importantly, we'll strive to improve the customer experience in the way that we interact and engage and communicate with the people of the region. For example, TransLink is an industry leader in the use of social media. We have over 30,000 Twitter followers. We found that a very effective way to communicate with customers real time and solve problems real time. We'll continue to actively connect with people online, in person, in their communities, and ensure that everyone has a chance to provide input and insights on our plans, projects, and milestones. Our online advisory panel, TransLink Listens, includes thousands of people who are interested and want to be involved and provide their perspective and input into our services and plans. And so, before I conclude, one more customer story. I happened to be coming back to the office from downtown Vancouver last week. I engaged in a conversation with one of our customers, a lady. I'd put her in her mid-70s, and she indicated to me that she gave up her driver's license, no longer drives, and she said, transit takes me everywhere I need to go. She said on the day that I met her, she lives in New Westminster at the Quay. I went downtown shopping. It takes her uptown New Westminster at 6th and 6th. And then she kind of had an impish grin on her face, and she says, tell me the story about her daughter who moved out to White Rock, Wayne, just up behind the Sandpiper pub. And she says, my daughter she doesn't believe me that I can get from Lonsdale Quay to where she lives in White Rock by transit. And she says, I know I can. I went on, looked at the schedule. I simply get on to SkyTrain, 3 stops, onto a bus. One bus takes her right into White Rock, and she says, I'm really looking forward to that day when I take that trip, knock on the door, and say, hi, here I am. Guess what? Transit works. So, I'm proud to be the CEO of TransLink, and at TransLink, we're all proud of the great system that we manage. The work we do at TransLink is truly about making this a better place to live, built on transportation excellence. But we're also mindful that it's not our system. It belongs to the customers and public that we serve. And we want you to be proud of your transportation system. And so, again, thank you for being here today. Look forward to any questions that you might have, and I'll pass the podium back to Bob.
Thank you, Ian, and I'd also like to thank Kathy and Nancy for their presentations. And just before I move to our question period, I wanted to recognize Mayor Richard Stewart, the mayor of Coquitlam. And so some of you may not know, this week is Bike to Work Week. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here, but judging by the mayor's attire, I have a sneaking suspicion he's riding his bike today. And well done. Thank you, Mayor. So. So with that, so as I mentioned earlier, and for some of you that may have arrived just after we got underway, we now have about 25 minutes to hear your questions and try to respond as best we can. And as I said, what I'm going to do is acknowledge you, and then we have people with microphones, Shirley and Mark, that will bring it over. So I'll start. The first one I saw was here, and then I'll go to this side of the room. And then you'll be third. Okay?
Okay. You sure it's on? Okay. My name is Kelly. I'm a customer for public transit service. I have 3 questions that is to ask you. One of them is the fully on public transit services that run about till 3 o'clock in the morning, late night service. Not all of the buses run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That for a customer, if you don't have a car or don't have income to have a car that has all sorts of getting around the service, why, and here's the question, first question, why is public transit not operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, like most other people would be doing? And the second part is on the first clip, what you mentioned about Mike, about the West Coast Express. True. Yes, there is services that go through from Mission to downtown in the morning on weekdays. However, if you live in Port Coquitlam, and if you go over to Waterfront and then take the transfer to the Canada line on a weekend, you can't take the West Coast Express because it doesn't operate on weekends. And taking the 160 bus takes over an hour and 40 minutes just to get there. Why is there going to be some improvements on that system? And then, of course, I am taking the challenge, the 28-day challenge pass, the 28-day pass. On the third front, same thing with West Coast Express. Now that we have Canada Day services operating on statutory holidays, and the West Coast Express doesn't even operate on holidays because there's no service. You're not getting a lot of commuters like from Mission or Abbotsford connecting to Vancouver, where there's a lot of festivities going on.
Great. Okay, well, thanks for those questions. Ian?
So Kelly, I think the response to all 3 questions is sort of on the same theme, is we're going to make transit a viable option for all parts of the day and parts of the region. It's certainly going to take additional investment and dollars. So what we do with the resources that we have, try to provide as much access and service to as many customers as we can with the resources that we've got. So Night Buser, we do have a night bus network, and you're true, depending on where you live, it can be effective or not. So it's all about moving forward, and if we're talking about that conversation 30 years out, if this region is going to grow, and you get to a certain size, and the nature of the city is it's 24/7, and I would envision those are services that we'll see as city grows. Right now, it's just a matter of working with the resources that we've got to serve as many people as we can.
Okay, thanks, Ian. And I just also note there are some technical realities we have to face. Our rapid transit system, SkyTrain, Canada Line, the tracks need to be inspected every night. We need a few hours to do it, and every system in the world shuts down for a portion of time. So you need a few hours to get out and check all the tracks. But anyhow, we're going to move to the next question, but you raised a good point. It was the gentleman right there. Yes, sir? Yeah. Just let Shirley get the mic so everybody can hear you online.
My name is Mark Beeching. I've been a handy dart worker for 32 years. I've been here since the beginning, and the handy dart system is broken. Our passengers are suffering every day, but now the solution to 37,000 trips being denied last year is that you're taking 10,000 hours from handy dart service hours and giving them to taxis. That means that up to 28 workers are going to be on the unemployment line as of June 22nd. That means that clients are not going to be picked up by people that are trained and care about them. They are going to be put in jeopardy. This is not a solution. We need sustainable funding for HandyDart. The people that are our mums and dads, my mom and dad, cannot be transported by people that don't have the time to take them from door to door safely, that don't understand how to transport them safely and tie them down in wheelchairs, that don't have accountability. Our drivers have accountability every single day. They are held accountable for their actions. Taxi drivers are not. Our vehicles are well maintained. Taxis are not. Just watch the news. Every day, passengers are suffering today. And the solutions that you've come up with are not solutions. They're hurting people every day. I have to look those people in the eye every day, and it's killing me.
Okay. Ian?
So, Mark, appreciate the impact relative to fellow workers and members. So that is a situation where, again, the objective is to be, it's about getting people where they live and where they need to get to in a safe, secure, and reliable way. So what we heard from customers, what we heard out of audits that have been undertaken of TransLink is to incorporate the use of taxis to provide a greater percentage of those trips so that we can provide more trips for more people with the resources that we've got. We're undertaking and piloting the use of more taxis presently. And if the answer is, and our assessment is that that's not being done in a safe and secure and reliable way, we'll have to make changes to make certain. That is our objective, is to provide more trips to more people with the resources that we've got.
If you're listening to passengers, why didn't you come out to a forum? You turned your back on our passengers when we had a forum on April 13th, and you would go to a forum that was trying to make HandyDart a volunteer service, but you won't come to our forum. We asked you, you turned us down, and the COO just told us that you guys are dealing with Coast Mountain on a day-to-day basis. Our union has 28 people out on unemployment lines, and nobody from TransLink has come and talked to us.
So Mark, I mean, you're here today. That's what this is about, is accountability. We take your feedback, and I know you've been talking to Doug, and we'll take it up more to get a better insight and understanding after the formal meeting.
Okay. I have we've got several people now, but I do have the one gentleman at the back with the black sweater. Just
So I have some questions about the service app, and also have a comment to add to the question for the person that asked that first about the West Coast Express. Like you were saying that there is no West Coast Express service on the weekends or on the statutory holidays, but if you look online, because which is what I even taken it before, is there actually is the West Coast Express train bus that you can take, and it does take a bit longer, but it does actually stop at the West Coast Express station, at all the West Coast Express stations. So there is an alternative to the 160 bus. So for those of you who don't know, and my question is I don't know why this isn't offered, but for me, I know on the West Coast Express, power outlets are offered for people to charge up their cell phones or laptops and stuff, but I don't see I've been to the States and I've taken transit in the States. There's power outlets on every single bus in the States that allows us to do charging. Why can't they do that on the buses here? Yes, some of the routes are shorter, but on some of the Orion routes, some of those highway coach routes, they're a lot longer. So why can't they just maybe install them at least on the highway buses for those people there? And another thing is I felt a lot of the times the fare boxes are not working properly, or sometimes what happens is I put a ticket in the fare box and it says that my ticket is invalid or something, and what's the issue with that? And often another thing I notice is when I'm using buying a fare upgrades or stuff, I notice that the odd thing is American coins do work in the fare boxes and on the ticket vending machines, while Canada does some American bills. It makes absolutely no sense at all.
Okay, thanks for your comments. Just on a good, I'll take that as input on the charging systems on the bus. On the fare boxes, I mean, all I can say, I mean, they are aging, and in a few years from now, we're going to be looking at replacing them. So there's maintenance that goes into them. With regard to coins, it's the weight of the coin, and it takes American coins, but we don't have that on the bills. I just wanted to clarify one thing that. As a result of some changes based on the amount of use that we were getting on the weekends, the West Coast Express train buses, we've withdrawn that service. We just didn't have the ridership on that before. No more on the West Coast Express train bus.
I know the last time I checked it was, because I did take it once, because I did take it a few times. That's why I knew that there was a service, because I did take it a few times, but I didn't know that they actually took it out.
Wish we had more people like you taking it on that one. I had, now I've got a number of people that have questions. I did have a gentleman right there at the back with the dark t-shirt. Yes, you, sir? Yeah. And just so you know, I'm going to try to get to everybody. Just give me some time on that. Okay.
Hi, I'm Bob Chitrarki. I'm also president of ATU Local 1724, which is the Handy Dart Workers. But that's not why I'm here today. I'm in here, the words I heard from up front were optimizing efficiencies and fiscal responsibility. How do you deal with the question of how do we provide rides with the most vulnerable people in our society when you're talking about fiscal responsibilities and optimizing efficiencies? These people are not going to be efficiency in their movement. There's not going to be any kind of fiscal responsibility because they're going to be an expense and they are subsidized. Your solution of lowering the Handy Dart custom transit hours isn't a solution to the problem. You have taken our hours from 605 to 5,000 to 598,000 to 593,000. And now you've lowered them to 583,000. Each is going down with no efficiencies happening. You've contracted out the whole system. The efficiencies by your own report have not come forth. And yet you're still reducing the service of Handy Dart, even though, as it was mentioned, 38,000 people were denied rides last year. There were anywhere upwards of 10,000 more people who were refused rides, which means they were offered something that wasn't acceptable. You're dancing around a problem. You're not telling us how this is going to be solved. I don't think taxis, there may be a solution, but they are not the answer.
So long, I guess a couple of ways of answer. One is long-term. As we look at the challenges going forward, and look at the demographics of the region that we serve, I think the demand on that particular, on Handy Dart services is going to increase. And so we need to do two things. One is what we're doing now, and I appreciate the comments that your perspective relative to that impact is we have limited our revenue sources are currently maxed. So the solution with respect to solving it would come with more service, and more service requires additional funding. The using service hours as a mark, that's an important measure. To me, what's most important is how many trips are we providing to those individuals with the resources? That to me is the important measure, and that's what we're trying to do with the dollars that we've got, is to try to provide more service, whether it's through conventional Handy Dart services or the use of taxis to provide more trips to more people that need them.
Okay, I have the gentleman in the second row, and just as the mic's coming up to you, Robert, you had, okay. I'll get to that one next, and then we'll come back. Okay.
Yes, my name is Bob Tanner. I'd like to ask how you propose to address the imbalance between road user fees and transit user fees.
So presently, the road user, actually, can I ask you a question? Do you consider fuel tax a road user fee?
I guess so.
Okay, yeah, so I mean, that's, again, when I talk about creating the plan going forward, and similar to Handy Dart, we need to understand what the values are of the region that we serve, and what the balance between it's a public good. That's why it's public transportation. A certain portion of the service should be paid through by some measure of general taxation, and then the balance comes from people that use the system, whether it's transit or roads. In thinking about creating that next plan, TransLink will be advocating for pricing. If we have got pretty bold vision for the mode shift with respect to number of trips, basically, if you take the number of trips, so many are by single occupancy vehicles, to balance it by walking, cycling, and transit. The region has set pretty bold vision with respect to increasing those non-single occupancy vehicle trips. If that's truly where the region wants to go, and the people that live here and the businesses that do business here want to go, some form of pricing has to be implemented, and then within that, balancing it out. So I guess this is a long way of saying to you, it depends on what the values are of the region and the people we serve. What mix are they looking for? From a straight transportation perspective, we would advocate for pricing, because it sends, like any other business, it sends a signal relative to the value of the services they're using, and would enable us to optimize or get more trips on the road capacity and transit capacity that we have.
Okay.
Pretty long-winded answer, sorry.
Okay, we've got a lot of people, and I'm trying to keep them in something of an order. But first, we have an online question. Go ahead.
Yes, we have somebody watching on live webcast, and it's Simon Fort, and his question is, what will the new Metrotown Mall station look like? What will the station look like?
So we're actually, Doug, we at a place where we have an understanding of what the concept is agreed to with the city, and
Yes,
you probably should get a mic, Doug.
Here, Doug, come up here.
It's going to look different.
Nicer, right?
Nicer. Serve more customers.
Better access.
Integrate better with them all. Okay, Doug.
Good
More
morning. Yes,
escalators.
it's a very, very significant change coming to Metrotown. I think one we are very excited about. It's actually taking the current bus loop that's literally part of the Metrotown Mall and moving it right underneath and around the existing SkyTrain station. So it'll be very convenient for our customers. We look at including some retail in there. You'll see a lot of glass, very open concept, multi-tiered, a lot more escalators, more elevators. I think it's a very, very exciting upgrade that's coming our way.
So it's basically going to make it easier to get to the buses and SkyTrain transfer at that station then?
The answer is yes. It's going to be optimal, because it's literally going to be at the right place, same place.
Sir, I'm sorry, we got
Thank you.
a lot of questions to go to, but we'll come back. Okay, I had a gentleman right here. Shirley's just going to bring a mic up for you, sir. Okay, I see you.
Referring to these numbers, it's just a one-pager.
Oh, okay, thank you, sir.
If they have numbers, can you give them to Kathy?
Good morning, Frank Jameson from Kitsilano. I would like to know when we are going to have adequate late evening service from downtown Vancouver. May 1st, the Canucks scheduled a match at the arena. The same evening, the Whitecaps already had a match. There's 40,000 extra people leaving downtown late evening. No extra buses. I got delayed 25 minutes going north on McDonald. I'm going back into the city, 25 minutes. It just happens 5 times this month I've encountered trips without boarding. Now what we need, a few of the buses at 7 o'clock, instead of going to Marpole, go to Burrard Station. As soon as a driver calls in, I'm full, the dispatcher sends one of those buses on that route. Even one night I was, the Symphony were at the Orpheum. At Burrard and Smythe at 10 o'clock, quarter after 10, denied boardings. After midnight, those buses are leaving downtown with 36 people standing. Now, there is budget for it. For example, this morning already, $10,000 has been wasted already this morning sending empty buses to UBC. Take a look at the schedule. There are 11 routes going in there. None of those need to run west of Alma, more frequently than 15-minute intervals per corridor, except the 99. Mr. Chairman.
We take that as input, I think.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that, and appreciate your comments. We certainly are challenged in terms of some of the services, and I would note that we do alter the services to the universities, UBC and Simon Fraser, in the spring for the reason you raised. But in any event, sir, I had a couple more. There was a woman at, oh, sorry, you were right here at the front, and then I'm going to take gentleman third there, and then we'll come back to the side. Go ahead, ma'am. Just, can we just get a microphone for you?
My name is Teresa Balfour, and I am living on the Riverview grounds in Coast Cottage. And the people that live on the grounds, there's over 100, is about 110 of them. They need the facility of the public transit to pick them up and to drive them around. And I'm not sure what the plan is. I heard from people on the bus that the 177 through Riverview grounds was going to be discontinued. And I started getting a petition, but then people wanted to know what the alternatives were. So I'm wondering what plan you have to take care of the people who are living on Riverview grounds. There's over 100. There's about 110 residents and 63 prohibition clients and family visiting clients that use the transit on a daily basis.
Thank you for the question. We are going to be changing that as a regular stop. The amount of ridership that we've had on that has been in the decline as fewer staff and others are going in there. What I would suggest, Brian Mills, who's our Director of Service Planning, is here. Brian is over on the side. Brian's been working on that, and I'd appreciate if you could talk to him once we finish the formal meeting. He can address your questions further, okay? Okay, thanks. Okay, I had the gentleman with the t-shirt. Yes, sir?
Yes, my name's Glenn Rango. I'm on the executive board of Local 1724 of the Handy Dart. I think the fiscal responsibility would to bring their service in-house, and you take the money that is contracted out and put it back into the system. That way you have sustainability within the system, right? You put the money back in, put the more buses out there, you save that money, and that way people keep their quality of life. And that's what Mr. Jarvis kept bringing up about quality of life. And that's our seniors, that's people dependable on the system to have a quality of life. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, we'll take that as comment. So on that, now I just have I have the gentleman in the second row here, and we're okay.
People waving at you over there too, Bob.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi. My name's John Petrie. Your drivers are
Could you
generally...
speak a little bit more so we can hear? I'm sorry,
Your drivers are generally terrific. What mechanism, and they're on the front lines and see how the system operates, what mechanisms do you have for taking up their suggestions and rewarding them for their suggestions? And can you give me a concrete instance of a suggestion that's been made in the last 6 months and the reward the driver has gotten?
I'm not sure as that's through Coast Mountain, but Hayden may be able to. Yeah.
I can't give you a specific example, but what I can share with you is that we do have feedbacks to the depot managers on a regular basis, and the operators are certainly have the vehicle to speak with them. In addition to that, last year I went around to every depot and had coffee sessions with operators to get their feedback in, so we do listen to what they have to say.
Okay, what I'm going to try to do, I've got a lot of questions. Before we come back for repeats, I'm trying to get some folks in. I know the lady at the back's been trying to get in for a while now. Mark, could you, right here? And then I'm going to come back to this side. Okay. Well, let's get through everyone first, and we'll see how much time we have left.
I came here, excuse me, I came here today on foot, on the bus, and on transit, so I'm definitely one of your customers. But if you ask me to define myself as in the transportation system, I'd say that I am a pedestrian. And I like the idea of the integrated transportation network, but I'm wondering if you ever talk pedestrians. I noticed that on the screen there's a symbol of the walking person, but in the previous one, there wasn't. And I'm wondering what TransLink's commitment is to the pedestrian experience and to pedestrians as a legitimate part of an integrated transportation system. Thank you.
What's that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. You've raised a very good point. Historically, we have municipalities do much of the work when it comes to municipal infrastructure. We offer funds that are collected and then are provided to municipalities to use in that case. But in recent years, we've really started to look at what we call transit-oriented communities, recognizing the significant role that pedestrians play in this. We have many people that are walking to and from work or to do their errands and that sort of thing. So we're going to be putting more emphasis on that as we move forward into the future. So okay. Now I just have. I'm not sure between the lady in the red jacket and the gentleman in the back who was first now. So between you two, you can sort that out.
Hi, my name is Debbie. I'm also with these HandyGuard guys, but I'm going to give that a rest for a second. My question is about cycling. As I'm a family of 3, but currently I can only take 2 bikes on one bus, which is a bit of a challenge. But what I really find challenging is that TransLink, why do you not have one car designated on every single SkyTrain service available for transport of bikes? Because now I've been told that when my traveling as a family, I have an 8-year-old, we can only have 2 of us on each train car, so that means we have to split our family up to travel together on the SkyTrain for use of our bikes. It's very cumbersome, and I think while they do it in Europe, why can't we do it here?
Well, I'll just respond to the bike rack questions, but I'm going to ask Fred Cummings, with our general manager for BC Rapid Transit, to speak to the SkyTrain. First, we're certainly recognizing cycling is increasing. It's become a very significant mode. There are some safety regulations and requirements under provincial regulations where we can only have, right now, we can only have 2 on the front of the vehicles. We are seeing if we can go to a 3-bike rack on the front of the buses. They do have to be on the front for safety reasons. People have suggested, could you put them on the back? Unfortunately, the driver has to see what is happening with the passengers in front. So take your point on that. And Fred, can you speak to SkyTrain, please?
Sure, Bob. And thanks for the question. One of the things that we do have to recognize is that there's a growing demand for bikes on the system. And as part of the Mark 1 retrofit, the original vehicles, we're taking a look at to see what we can do with the configuration of those vehicles to accommodate more bikes. We're probably going to take about 4 seats out of each of those cars. Because of the way that we configure the trains, the cars get mixed around. Although they travel in married pairs, those pairs get mixed around whether they're at the front of the train or the back of the train, so we can never guarantee that one car is in the right location to pick up cars. So it's an operational issue.
Yeah.
Then we have people that are on bikes rushing to the end of the platform to get into the right car. So what we would like to do is accommodate more people. What we Okay, thanks. Well, we'll take a look at it again, but we're.
Okay, thanks, Fred. Okay, I'm just going to go to gentleman in the back. Yep. Go ahead.
Dave Watt. I'm an employee of HandyDart. But the question, I have 3 questions. One is to Kathy. How much of the budget of $1.4 billion of expenses is actually debt that was created through the Canada line? I understand the Compass card is now over budget, and does that money come out of operating? Pay for the extra debt.
So on our $1.43 billion of expenditure, of course, the Canada line is capitalized, so we amortize it over the life of the asset. So in total of our debt repayment of all of our assets, it's around about 22% of all of our expenditures go towards debt repayment and interest.
How much of that debt repayment is cost from overrides or
For the Canada line?
If I'm not mistaken, was over budget, is that right? It didn't come in under budget.
No, Canada line, to my understanding, was right on the budget that we had planned for, and we have fixed payments for the Canada line, so we're right on track. As far as the Compass card right now, it's not in operations yet, so it's all the money that we're spending is being capitalized at this point. We will review it, and then we'll be amortizing that over the life expectancy. So it's not in our operating expenditures at this time. Compass card has been delayed.
The other thing is, in regard to HandyDart, is the funding process. That's the issue, sustainable funding for HandyDart. As some of the previous speakers mentioned, that we've now gone, 4 years ago, there was 655,000 hours of service. We're now down to 585 or 83, I'm not quite sure. So there's been a decline, even though in a meeting that I was at back in 2004, 2005, they projected that the use of, or the increase in HandyDart service is going to increase roughly 5% per year, the need. So as the need is going up, the service of hours is going down. There's a number of, and again, what the previous speaker said, taxis are not the solution. They might look good on paper, but they do not solve the problem. And it also puts our clients into a no-win situation. The other issue is funding. We have a carbon tax, over $500 million that could be raised or convince the provincial government to put that money into transit. We have Ministry of Health, Ministry of Family. We do a lot of work for the Ministry of Health, transporting patients and clients. Has the board approached the provincial government for those fundings? Because we're really subsidizing the provincial government in some ways. The other issue, and probably the biggest single issue, and I'll have Ian hopefully answer it, is privatizing of the service. That profit can be put back as it was before, even though there was problems, and we all agree there was some problems with the system before when you had 7 operators. But at least you knew the money was going back into the system, just like Coast Mountain. If they make a profit, the money goes back into the company that serves the public.
Okay, Nancy, do you want to respond to the funding issue?
We're, as we've been discussing, and the previous question about do we want to provide more forms of pricing the road, we always look at multiple sources of funding. And I think your point's a really good one, that, you know, a transportation service is not just about roads and public transit. It's about health and well-being and all those sorts of things. So with our mayors and the Mayor's Council, we're looking at long-term sustainable funding, and I would be delighted to take those suggestions to the province. But as you appreciate, we are all creatures of the province, so it does take cooperation with the province to do it. But working with our Mayor's Council, we are looking for those long-term solutions, and I think that's kind of a cool idea. So we'll add it to the list, the looking at the health and well-being part of it.
Thanks, Nancy. And Ian?
So with respect to the mode of service delivery, whether it's in-house or contract, certainly right now it is a contracted service to MVT. And that contract is up in 2 or 3 years, and again, that objective of delivering service in the most effective, cost-effective way is something that we'll examine, and we'll determine, all things considered, what the best service delivery model is. So we're not. Basically, the objective is to serve our customer in the most effective way, effective and cost-effective way.
So I just want to say, I've extended our period about an extra 5 minutes or so. We're going to take two more questions. For those of you that have had a chance to ask one, staff will be here afterwards, and we can follow up one-on-one with you. And so the lady with the red shirt.
My name's Denise. I'm the financial secretary for the Amalgamated Transit Union. I guess you talk about accountability and transparency. Well, I guess what I'm asking is we currently operate 322 full-time runs. 10,000 hours have been designated to the taxi pilot project. We just were served notice that 28 full-time drivers are losing their jobs. Please, somebody be accountable and tell me how that equates, because in my books, in my adding and subtracting, I don't get the numbers the same.
I can't speak to the math on that, but certainly we are reallocating direct operated service hours to more taxi service to respond to what others have told us through audits and reviews and what other transportation agencies are doing, again with that objective of providing more rides to more customers with the resources that we've got.
Okay, and gentleman with the blue shirt, I know you've been patient, so we'll provide that.
My name is Albert Melanius. I'm a Handy Dart driver. Ian, this is addressed to Ian Jarvis. Did you say in this meeting we can't save our way to growth? Did you actually? Well,
yeah, that's a direct quote.
Okay, I thank you for confirming that. This isn't actually a question. I'm just suggesting that you take a look at that, what you said there, because you seem to be trying to save your way to growth at Handy Dart, and that is the one service that can't actually afford it. My passengers do need assistance, so if you're going to go the cheap route, this is not the service to do it with.
Okay, thank you. Now, I did say that would be our last question, but I know that one gentleman has been very patient, and then I'm going to let Mayor Stewart has also been patient to have a final comment, so maybe go ahead.
Thank you, and I'll be very brief, because I've said it before. We all heard all the challenges that you've got, people asking for more service, and people asking for less cost, and folks asking for you to be as efficient as possible, and we want you all to be as efficient as possible, partly because we need expansions of the service in the suburbs for those areas that are growing. We have a new neighborhood that we're building today that's transit-oriented. It's designed for public transit, and it's got all those things in it except for the public transit, which we know will come eventually, but the challenge is that if we don't put public transit in when we build these new neighborhoods that are transit-oriented, folks buy the second car, and now they've got a car, and when we do finally get the transit in there, we've lost the opportunity to raise that next generation of neighborhood absolutely dependent on transit, because they won't be dependent on transit anymore. We've said it before, and I recognize the challenges. That's why we support all the efficiencies that you need to find. We also support the kinds of revenue that you're going to need to find, because ultimately, if we don't get people out of their cars in this region, it won't be the livable region we were trying for.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. We'll take that as a comment. We appreciate your comments, and this will definitely be the last question. Sir, at the back.
Hi, my name's Patrick, and I'm just wondering about the Portman Rapid Bus. A lot of us were surprised when we didn't see it make a stop in Guildford, and I'm wondering, obviously that's on the radar, obviously that's something that's a priority for when resources are available. I'm just wondering in the near term or in the midterm when you would foresee that happening. Would that be happening in conjunction with an Evergreen Line expansion or a Surrey Rapid Bus expansion, something along those lines, and just what time frame you would see that?
Okay, just to address that, it's been a lot. There was some thought of having a station at Guildford at 156th Street many years ago when when Port Mann was being considered and designs were going forward. There was there was a business there that had an interest in some development. That development didn't proceed, so we were unable to build the bus exchange that would be required to allow that to happen. So for the last 4 years, what we have been anticipating was a trip coming out of the current car vault and over. We are in discussions with the city of Surrey to see whether or not we have a viable stop, just a quick stop at 156. Longer term, though, to really make that the exchange, we need to have a bus exchange there, and we're hopeful that that may happen into the future. But right now, we're just trying to work through whether we can provide any kind of stop at 156th Street. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, what I'm going to do, I know there's a lot of questions. We're going to be here for a while. I thank you ever so much for your participation today. We're going to close. We have one last video to show you as we just sort of wind down, and then we'll be here to respond to your questions for a number more minutes. So, thank you very much, everybody.
transit in Vancouver is pretty much very accessible. Like, say I live in 3rd and Alma, and I usually go downtown. And when I go downtown, I have a lot of choices when it comes to bus, at least like 3 choices. And yeah, pretty accessible. Every 2 blocks there's bus stop. If you know how to read the street and then the bus line, that you know that this bus will stop in this particular stop, yeah, pretty easy. I love Canada Line. So quick, it's clean, it's new. Because of those choices, it's easier and it's quicker for you to get, to get to the place where you want to be.
Okay. Thanks again, everyone, and staff will be here for those that have some further questions. So appreciate you coming out, and look forward to seeing you next year.